welcome to today's On This Day in Tudor History. I'm Claire Ridgway, founder of the Tudor Society and Anne Boleyn Files websites. Now, today, the 11th of February, is the birthday of a complete Tudor nut, someone that is completely obsessed with Tudor history, someone that's spent so far 10 years full-time researching Tudor history, and someone who never tires of it, and someone who is filling YouTube with lots of Tudor history videos. I think that could be me. Happy birthday to me. Now, I'll be spending my birthday neck deep in research and writing, followed by some quality family time and downtime, some relaxation, bliss. Tudor history and relaxation, what more could I ask for? I am really blessed to be able to spend not only my birthday, but every day neck deep in Tudor history. So thank you for playing a part in that and supporting me and encouraging me. Now, I share my birthday with a very important Tudor woman, Elizabeth of York, who of course was Queen Consort of Henry VII, who in turn was the founder of the Tudor Dynasty, the first monarch of the Tudor Dynasty. So let me give you some facts about this other birthday girl, my birthday buddy, Elizabeth of York. Well, Elizabeth of York was the eldest child of King Edward IV and his wife Elizabeth Woodville. She was born on the 11th of February, which is why she's my birthday buddy, and in 1466, nearly got the wrong century, 1466, at Westminster Palace in London. She was baptised in St. Stephen's Chapel in Westminster Abbey. She was named Elizabeth after her mother, Elizabeth Woodville. Now, her father, Edward IV, was king twice, two different periods. He was king from March 1461 to October 1470, and from 1471 until 1483. Why twice? Well, this was a time of this kind of civil war in England. The Wars of the Roses, a series of struggles and battles as the houses of York and Lancaster fought for the throne, really. And of course, Edward IV deposed Henry VI, then Henry VI was restored to the throne. So you've got this vying between the houses of Lancaster and York. That's a very simplified explanation of the Wars of the Roses and why Edward IV was king twice. Now, during Elizabeth's childhood, she became betrothed twice to George Neville, who was son of John Neville, Marquis Montague, and then to the Dauphin of France, Charles, who was son of Louis XI. Elizabeth's father died in April 1483 on the 9th of April, and Elizabeth's 13-year-old brother, Edward, inherited the throne as King Edward V. Now, lots of people are thinking, Edward V? Who was Edward V? Well, he was one of the princes in the Tower. So he became king, and he was taken to the Tower of London to prepare for his coronation. And Elizabeth and Edward's uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, became protector because Edward, of course, was only 13. He was in his minority. So Richard became his protector to help him reign until he reached his majority. To cut a very long story short, Richard ended up taking the throne from Edward and becoming Richard III, King Richard III. And Edward and his brother Richard, who'd also been residing in the Tower, disappeared. And their fate is still unknown. There are many theories that they were murdered. There are many theories about who they were murdered by. Or there are theories that at least one of them survived and went into exile. there's lots of controversy. There are lots of books written about the princes in the Tower. A recent one's Matthew Lewis's book, The Survival of the Princes in the Tower, I think it's called. It's worth looking up. It's a very good read. So the princes in the Tower, they were the brothers of Elizabeth of York. Now, Elizabeth's mother, Elizabeth Woodville, joined forces with Lady Margaret Beaufort, who was Henry Tudor's mother, and the two women decided that a union between their children, Henry and Elizabeth, could be part of bringing Richard III down. Henry Tudor had been in exile. He returned from exile in August 1485, set off to march onto London, was intercepted by Richard in Leicestershire, and we have the Battle of Bosworth of the 22nd of August 1485, when of course the forces of Henry Tudor defeated Richard III, and Richard III was killed in battle. Henry Tudor became King Henry VII. He married Elizabeth of York on the 18th of January 1486, and their marriage united the houses of Lancaster, because Henry was from the house of Lancaster, and York. Now, Elizabeth and Henry, this may have been a marriage match, not something that they chose. It wasn't a love match. But then, obviously, nobility weren't expected to marry for love. But it appears to have been a happy marriage. And they had 8 children together, although only 4 of them actually survived infancy. We have Arthur, Prince of Wales, Margaret, Queen of Scots, King Henry VIII, and Mary, Queen of France. Unfortunately, Arthur died quite young. I think he was 15 when he died in 1502. On the 2nd of February 1503, Elizabeth gave birth to her 8th and final child, a daughter, Catherine. Now, little Catherine died just a few days later on the 10th of February 1503, and Elizabeth sadly followed her a day later on the 11th of February 1503. Now, we don't know what Elizabeth died of, whether it was a postpartum infection, whether she hemorrhaged, we don't know, but it was obviously some kind of complications following the birth of her daughter. Now, she died on the 11th of February 1503, so there's another on this day in history event for today. The Queen died on her 37th birthday, which is very sad to die on your birthday. So that's really the on this day in Tudor history event for today, because we can't really call her birth a Tudor event, because of course it was in the Plantagenet period. So the Queen died on her 37th birthday, and she was laid to rest at Westminster Abbey. And today you can visit her tomb. If you go into Westminster Abbey, you'll find a beautiful tomb, a magnificent tomb for Henry VII and Elizabeth of York in the Abbey's Lady Chapel. So you can go and visit and pay your respects. So that's my birthday buddy who was born and died on this day in history. This book by Amy Licence is the biography that I would recommend on Elizabeth of York. It's a very good read, and yeah, it just brings her to life. Not much is known about her by people today. Because she's kind of ignored. I think we prefer the exciting queen consorts of King Henry VIII, don't we? Just because King Henry VIII was so iconic and married 6 of them. And so Elizabeth of York tends to get ignored, but she was a fascinating woman. She has to be. She's my birthday buddy. So there you go. Amy Licence's book is a jolly good read on Elizabeth of York. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll be back here tomorrow with another On This Day in Tudor History event. Take care. Bye-bye.